Network show. It is Sunday, February 5th. Sunday, February 5th, 2023, and we are live. The call in number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call in number if you have a question or comment. Listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF. So it is African American History Month once again. I have an article that I wrote dealing with African American History Month, Black History Month, and some of the history of Dr. Carter G. Woodson. So I'll share that article with you as well. You can read all of our articles, all of the articles that I write at TheAHNShow.com. A sixth police officer has been fired in the killing of Tyree Nichols. We know he was suspended. I talked about this last week. He was suspended. That's the white officer, Preston Hempfield. And this is the officer who could be heard in the body camera footage saying, I hope they stomp his ass. Well, he's actually been fired now. Okay, so hopefully charges will happen soon for him as well. Now, this officer was not at the second scene. He was only at the first scene. There were two scenes, two incidences, the initial traffic stop. And then after that, you have the incident where Tyree was severely beaten and he's handcuffed and waiting on paramedics. Took 19 minutes for paramedics to actually render any assistance to him. We also know that you have two paramedics who were fired also for not rendering assistance to him, not checking vital, not checking his vital body, his vitals, etc. Also, story came out on Saturday, and I have not seen a lot of coverage of this, but the Department of Justice will review the Memphis Police Department after Tyre Nichols killing. The U.S. Department of Justice will review the Memphis Police Department after Tyree Nichols killing. So we'll give you some information about that. Reuters.com has an article on this, and some other news outlets are reporting this. You've heard me talk about Project 21. What's his name? Craig DeLuce was on from Project 21, this Black conservative think tank. He was on Roland Martin Unfiltered a couple months ago, and I was on that show with Reese Colbert, and we tore into Craig DeLuce because he had their plan to hoodwink Black America. Well, somebody else from Project 21 was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Thursday, February 3rd. Phillip Clay. Phillip Clay is an African-American conservative, and he wrote an article accusing African-American-owned media of not talking about what he calls black on black crime, or what the white media created called black on black crime, because crime is based upon largely proximity. You kill where you live, you commit crimes where you live. Okay, so 83% of white people who are killed in this country are basically killed by other white people. 89% of African Americans who are killed by other African Americans. You kill where you live. Asians kill Asians. Native Americans kill Native Americans, largely speaking. So he had been going on other talk shows and right-wing media talk shows and podcasts, things like this, with this one-page article that he wrote, which is really an opinion piece. Okay, then he came to Roland Martin Unfiltered and he got destroyed. So I'm going to share some excerpts of that conversation with you. Okay. Secondly, we're going to give you an update on the advanced placement African American Studies class from the College Board. Okay, so the College Board on February 1st released their final version of this class. And the 6 topics that the Florida Department of Education had objected to, and Ron DeSantis had objected to, were removed from the requirements of this class, of this curriculum, and they were basically made as they were made optional in the curriculum. Okay, so this drew a lot of backlash from people like Joanne Reed on MSNBC It drew backlash. I saw a number of different articles written on this. New York Times has one of the best articles on this because they actually talked to somebody from the College Board. Now, Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland did some really, really good journalism, and he spoke with Steve Baumgog. What's his name? Steve Baumbach, I should say. Steve Baumbach, who's the senior vice president of the the College Career and Digital Access College Board. He's actually with the College Board, and Steve Baumbach actually explained what happened, because what a lot of people are getting wrong with this whole conversation is that, number one, a pilot is an experiment, and you're going to make revisions, you're going to make changes as you go along. Number one. Number two, the final version of the course was completed before the Florida Department of Education sent their letter January 12th, 2023. The final version was completed in December 2022. All right. So I'm going to let you hear from somebody who has some insight on this, who's actually with the College Board, because I saw, just like I saw coverage on MSNBC today, they're talking to people who are not with the College Board. And I'm going to take you through the article from the New York Times, because they go through this, once again, this is real journalism. They actually go through and talk to people from the College Board and explain the revisions. All right. So we'll discuss that. Also, we'll talk about African American History Month as well. And the U.S. Department of Justice is investigating. They're going to launch an investigation to the Memphis Police Department. And this year's annual theme for African American History Month, Black History Month, is Black resistance and Black resistance movements. We're going to give you some information on that as well, because there's been an annual theme for African American History Month going back to 1928. All right. And when I do my lectures dealing with Black History Month, we deal with Dr. Carter G. Woodson. We deal with the origins of African American History Month also. Okay. If you missed the 4-hour lecture that I did, online lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th, dealing with African American History Month and Black resistance movements, visit our website, TheAFricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. It's a free lecture. You can register for it. You can watch it. It is archived. Also, we have a new online class that starts up Saturday, February 11th, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. So you can visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, and register for that as well. All right, you listen to the African History Network Show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right, stand by. Stand by. Broadcasting and social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Stand by. Okay. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Invite your friends to tune in. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter. Text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, Kemet, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 3 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute.
We deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network Show. We do with events of history and much, much more. We'll give you an update on this is about salvation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy so elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, WFDF. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. The call-in number is 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, let's jump into this first story. Now, on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow the people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. All right, let's go to this first story here. So a 6th officer has been fired in the related to the killing of Tyree Nichols. Now, we know Tyree Nichols was laid to rest this past week. Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy. We know Vice President Kamala Harris also spoke at his funeral and called for the need for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act to be passed. Also, when I was on Faraji Muhammad's show, I talked about that and dealt with the fact that as long as police killings are seen as a black issue, then we're not going to get legislation passed, because there are more white people killed each year by police than African Americans, even though we're disproportionately killed. And the majority of the people that have to vote on this legislation are white. So as long as you keep making this a black issue, especially in the U.S. Senate, and only 2.5 people in the Senate are African American, and I say half because Senator Tim Scott from South Carolina, half the time he doesn't act like he's black. If you just keep making this a black issue, you're not going to get the bills passed. Another Memphis police officer terminated two first responders suspended in the wake of Tyree Nichols' death. We're going to clip number 1, Doug, in just a minute from ABC News, Good Morning America. So cue clip number 1 up, please. Another Memphis police officer has been fired, and 2 first responders had their licenses suspended following the violent arrest and death of Tyree Nichols last month. Officials announced on Friday. Okay, so this was Friday, February 3rd, that this was announced. The former police officer, Preston Hemphill, who's the white police officer, okay, was relieved of his duties for violating multiple departmental policies, including personal conduct and truthfulness, the Memphis Police Department said in a news release. Now, Preston Hemphill, who was hired by the Memphis Police Department in March 2018, was fired on January 30th, 2023, police said. The former officer was seen on body camera footage tasing Tyree Nichols, and later heard saying, "I hope they stomp his ass," end quote. Okay. Now he should hope that karma doesn't come back on him, right? And that's what happens to him in prison. He should hope that the chickens don't come home to roost. Now, an attorney for Hempfield, Lee Gerald, told CNN in a statement that Hempfield does not agree with the department's decision to fire him. Well, most police officers who get fired by the police department, they probably don't agree with the reasons that they were fired. But the former officer will, quote, continue to cooperate with all investigating agencies until the death of Tyree Nichols, end quote. This is what his attorney said, Lee Gerald. Meanwhile, the Tennessee Emergency Medical Services Division announced early Friday that it had suspended two first responders. It has suspended two first responders after they failed to render emergency care and treatment the night that Tyree Nichols encountered law enforcement. The Medical Services Division said that Robert Long and Jamichael Lamar Sandridge failed to provide any basic emergency care for 19 minutes. Failed to provide any basic emergency care for 19 minutes. Okay, you have to wonder why didn't you render any care for 19 minutes? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. Despite Tyree Nichols, quote, exhibiting clear signs of distress, such as the inability to remain in a seated posture and laying prone on the ground multiple times. All right, now I want to go to this clip here. This is from Good Morning America on ABC, and this deals with the firing of this sixth officer. Let's go to this clip, please, Doug. Okay, pause it right there. All right, now, okay, so that's from ABC News. We're cue that up again, Doug. We're gonna play that one more time. Okay, we're gonna play that clip one more time in just a second. ABC News also has this article. Let's see, where is it? They have an article: White officer involved in Tyree Nichols arrest fired. This is from February 3rd, 2021. So you can check that out as well. Now, the Department of Justice is also going to investigate, and we'll come to that. I'm going to go to that story here in just a minute. If we look at the article from ABC News, White involved in Tyree Nichols arrest fired. Okay, so we have a good article, pretty extensive article from CNN. Also, we have this one here from abcnews.com, and we have the reporting from Good Morning America as well. Let me pull this one up here from ABC. Okay, Preston Field confronted Tyree Nichols before he was beaten by 5 other cops. Now, Preston Hempfield was not at an incident. Okay,
The 6th Memphis officer has now been fired.
he was
Following Nichols' death in a hospital
incident.
3 days after. ABC's Ellen Lopez joins us now. And
okay, Preston Hempfield at the 2nd incident, he was only at the 1st incident. So just so people understand the difference. When they did the investigation, the Memphis Police Department, they focused on first and foremost the people who were at both incidents. Okay, and those were those 5 African-American police officers who were fired. Now, Preston Hempfield, the white Memphis police officer, one of the first cops to confront Tyree Nichols, was fired from the force. The Memphis Police Department announced Friday evening. Hempfield encountered the 29-year-old during a traffic stop on January 7th and allegedly deployed his taser during the confrontation. His own body camera video, Hempfield is seen chasing Tyree Nichols road, but then turns back to the scene of the initial traffic stop. Hempfield was heard on his body camera video saying twice, "I hope they stop his ass." Now, Tyree Nichols later confronted by a group of officers who used pepper spray and beat him, according to body camera footage from the night. Tyree Nichols died 3 days later in the hospital. The 5 officers who were seen in the Jr. and Jeff Smith have been fired and charged with 2nd-degree murder. They are all African. The Memphis Police Department said that, quote, after a thorough review of the circumstances surrounding the incident, we determined that Officer Preston Hempfield violated multiple department policies. And here's the official statement from the Memphis Police Department. Those violations included personal conduct, truthfulness, and a violation for not using the taser in compliance with regulations, the department said. Now, violating the regulations does not mean that so people understand the difference. Violating department regulations does not mean criminal took place. Violations of actual crimes took place. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, but just because somebody is fired for violating departmental policies or departmental practices does not mean that they committed a crime that can be prosecuted. So in this situation here, maybe he will be prosecuted, but the fact that he was fired does not the fact that somebody gets fired from the police department does not automatically mean that they committed crimes also. Okay, when we come back from the break, I'm going to go back to that clip again. You listen to the African History Network. We'll talk about the College Board and what happened with the revisions that were released to the African American Studies class, AP African American Studies class, on February 1st. Listen to the African History Network show. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, back from break in 4 minutes. How's everybody doing? Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 3 minutes. How's everybody doing? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Back from break in 2 minutes.
The opinions and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the After History Network Show. We do with current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on.
This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy so elections have consequences. Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, the call-in number is 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. Okay, so right before the break, we were talking about the white police officer, Preston Hemphill, who has now been fired as of Friday, February 3rd, fired from the Memphis Police Department. This is related to the killing of Tyree Nichols. I want to go back to, I want to play that clip again from Good Morning America announcing this. Let's go back to that clip. Clip number 1, please, Doug.
The Memphis officer has now been fired following Nichols' death in a hospital 3 days after his arrest. ABC's Elwin Lopez joins us now. And Elwin, this is the white officer that Tyree Nichols' stepfather told us the family believed should have been charged.
Yeah, Janae, that's right. Good morning to you. Tyree Nichols' family tells me they want to see everyone in those videos held accountable for their actions. Now, Preston Hemphill is one of the first officers seen confronting the 29-year-old. Memphis Police stating that that officer violated several department policies, including truthfulness and the rules on handling a stun gun. Now, when you take a look at this video, he's the white officer seen using that stun gun during the first police interaction with Nichols. And after Nichols runs off, he is heard saying he hopes they stomp him. 5 other officers, all black, were fired and now face second-degree murder charges. So far, Hemphill has not been charged. Now, this comes just a day after President Biden and his VP met with members of the Congressional Black Caucus to talk about renewed calls for police reform. And take a look at this. A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows that 34% of Americans say they are not confident at all that police are adequately trained to avoid using excessive force. 38% say they are not confident that police treat everyone equally. Now, Hemphill's attorney says that they are, quote, regrettable about the firing of his clients, but they say that they will continue to cooperate with authorities. Guys.
All right, Ellen, thank you.
Okay, pause it right there. Pause it right there. Okay. So that's from Good Morning America, and that is from the article, White Officer and Tyree Nichols Arrest Fired. All right, now I want to, we're going to go to clip number 2 here. So Phillip Clay wrote this little article. It's an op-ed, really. It's not journalism. It's an op-ed. He wrote this for some, I forgot the publication that it's with. I'll give you that information here in just a minute. But it deals with what he's doing is he's saying that African-American owned media does not focus on what he calls black on black crime, or what the white media calls black on black crime. And he's been on different news programs or podcasts, things like this. He's been on different programs, white conservative programs, attacking African-American owned media and saying they don't care about black on black crime, etc. It's so this article, this op-ed or opinion piece is from National Center for Public Policy Research, National Center for Public Policy Research. And he's been on a number of different shows. So he contacted Roland Martin and asked to come on the show. And it didn't go too well for JJ. It didn't go too well for him. The name of this, Where is the Outrage Over Black on Black Crime? Where is the outrage over black on black crime? This is from National Center for Public Policy. And it's really just one page. And what happened was, I printed this out, and I've got it around here somewhere. I printed this out, and when I went to print it, I said, this is all it is. It's like one page. And when I went to print it, there was some extra white space at the bottom. So I thought, missing something. I thought, oh, this must be a whole other page missing. There's a whole nother pages of analysis and facts and citations to back up his argument. No, not at all. Now, what he did do is he mentioned Reverend Al Sharpton. So as soon as I saw Reverend Al Sharpton's name mentioned, I knew it was some BS. Okay. Well, first of all, let's be honest. As soon as I saw that Project 21, I knew it was some BS. Okay, because Reese Colbert and we already dealt with Craig DeLuce, and you've seen that video that we've been rebroadcasting on my network, the African History Network, and is dealing with the Black conservative plan to hoodwink Black America. But J. Phillip Clay said, I ask myself though, where is the outrage for all black on black crime? Why are leaders in the community, quote unquote, leaders in the community like Al Sharpton, not vocal about the children who are killed in black on black crime on a daily basis in places like Chicago? As these leaders continue to vilify police and cause tensions to rise, they set these communities and the police who are sworn to protect them back another step. After seeing the horrible Tyree Nichols footage, I asked, was it racially motivated? White supremacy didn't cause this. Bad cops doing a bad thing. Now, in this little piece that he put together, he did say what happened to Tyree Nichols was inexcusable and the police were wrong. Okay, but if you listen to Reverend Al Sharpton's radio show, and he broadcasts here Monday through Friday on 9:10 a.m. WFDF, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know Reverend Sharpton does speak out against African Americans killing each other, doing harm to one another. He's led protest marches against this. You know he talks about this. So when I hear people saying that Reverend Sharpton doesn't speak out against that, then I know they don't listen to his show. And this is the only person that he mentioned. Okay. So it's more nonsense. So then he goes on to say we see CNN and other media outlets race baiting and inciting anger by saying police are racist. Some of them are. Some of them are. And then we have reports coming from the FBI that talk about how white supremacists and white nationalists have infiltrated the police departments. Now, I've got news for you. Yes, white supremacists and white nationalists are in the police departments. Okay, there are approximately 18,500 police departments across the country. I'm not saying all white police officers are white supremacists or white nationalists. I am saying white nationalists and white supremacists have always been police officers. What I mean by that is you cannot find a time in history when white supremacists and white nationalists were not part of the police departments. They've always been part of the police department. So this is why when people sometimes these reports come out and I have a problem with using the term they've infiltrated the police department. They didn't infiltrate anything. They've always been there. That's not something new. No, they've always been in the police departments. I'm not saying all white police officers are white supremacists or white nationalists. I'm saying white nationalists and white supremacists have always been police officers. Okay, so he goes on to say, we see CNN and other media outlets race baiting and inciting anger by saying police are racist. They're not inciting anger. African Americans are already angry, and it's because of the abuse by some police officers. I'm not indicting all 800,000 law enforcement officers in the country, but it's rightful anger, and some of them are white supremacists and racists. Now, to the media, this situation cannot be simply tragic. There has to be a politically motivated statement referring to, quote, how racist policing is. Yet this incident mirrors gang violence far more than it does racially charged beatings. These officers have no defense for the beating that they put on Tyree Nichols, and they deserve the charges being brought forth. There will likely be an investigation into the entire department, and these 5 might not be the only ones held accountable. Regardless of the detestable action shown in Memphis, we will still see men and women of all races, religions, and creeds wake up and go to work protecting the very communities that are protesting against them, terrorist organizations like Antifa. Okay, so when I hear a quote unquote black man, and you talk about a terrorist organization and you bring up Antifa, which is Antifa stands for anti-fascism. They're against fascism. You don't bring up the Oath Keepers. You don't bring up the Proud Boys, okay? And members of the Proud Boys got sentenced for sedition, okay? And they were involved in the January 6th insurrection. You don't mention them. You mention Antifa. Terrorist organizations like Antifa will use this strategy to race base and burn down cities, doing irreparable harm to the very communities they claim to support. Just nonsense. Now, when we come back from the break, I'm gonna let you hear the exchange between J. Phillip Clay and Roland Martin, and then I'm gonna let you hear what I had to say about it on Roland Martin and Filter. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. How's everybody doing? Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by, everybody. All right, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Also visit our website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com. If you missed the free lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th, have it at our website, TheAHNShow.com. You can still register for it and watch it. It's on demand. Black History Month is dealing with Black History Month. So you can still register for it. Just click right here to register for it, and you can watch it. Then register for the new 12-week online course that I'm doing starting say February 11th, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Class number 1, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, starts up. Okay, and this is a 12-week online class, and we have a ton of information to share with you in this course. All right, stand by. Break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute.
Opinions and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network Show. We do with current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on.
This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy to electrify consequences. Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF. All right. Okay, calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. So I was talking about this opinion piece that Black conservative J. Phillip Clay from the Project 21 did. You can read this. It's a quick read. You can read it in a minute. National Center for Public Policy Research. He got on all these white conservative shows with a one-pager, which is interesting. Now, he asked to come on Roland Martin Unfiltered, and Roland let him come on. And the name of this is Where is the Outrage Over Black-on-Black Crime? And he alleges that Black-owned media does not deal with African Americans killing each other, things like this. We're only concerned about police killings, etc. Okay. And the only leader that he mentioned in here was Reverend Al Sharpton, which I find very curious. But nonetheless, I want to go to this clip here. Okay, because so I was on the show, on Roland's show, when we had J. Phillip Clay on. And he and Roland got into it, and he hung up before they came to me. Okay, but I want you to, I'm trying to go to this here. Why is this freezing up? All right, I want you to hear what happened. Okay, let's go to clip number 2, please, Doug.
Phillip Clay with the Project 21 claims that black media doesn't talk about a major issue like black-on-black crime. So, really, I thought that'd be really interesting. So he joins us right now. So, Phillip, glad to have you here. So, how do you ascertain we don't discuss the issue of black-on-black crime?
Well, good evening, Roland, and thanks for having me on, and congratulations on your nomination for the NAACP award. So for me personally, I'd like to take the conservative out of this and really just talk to you as a young black male. From where I sit in Indiana, which has a very high crime rate when it comes to black Americans, I don't see the same outrage and instances of black on blacks, young black teens killing black teens, as I do when I see 5 black officers beating and killing Tyree Nichols in tragedy, or in instances like you were just talking about earlier in Mississippi, or in the George Floyd instances. To me, the article that I wrote and the reason I'm on your show is because I feel that until we as a community can start to rally together and say no more, we can't progress. My article intends to say that we need to, as a community, come together and stop blaming police, just blaming police, and we need to stand together and we need to progress and we need to make things happen.
What is the, so you say you're there in Indiana. What is the white-on-white crime rate in Indiana?
You know, rolling off the top of my head, I don't know that figure for you.
So I'm trying to understand if you only mentioning black-on-black crime, how do you not mention white-on-white crime? Because if we're talking about crime in this country, we've seen an explosion in the last several years of crime in rural America that doesn't involve black people.
Right. Although 89% of black people are killing other black people. There was an article. Unfortunately, I can't share my screen like you can.
Right. But the reality is, if you look at actually crime in America, it typically happens where people live. So typically, if you're black, crime is being committed by someone black. And if you're white, crime is being committed by somebody white. So why is it that no one ever mentions white-on-white crime? Why is it the pathology always black-on-black crime?
Well, I think white-on-white crime is mentioned. I think it is.
No, it's not. That phrase is never even used. It's literally never even used.
So then what's it called, Roland?
Oh, it's called, first of all, they just say crime. But what you have folks who say black-on-black crime. So again, what I'm saying is, why
population that's disproportionately affected. It is a big thing. And I'm
not saying it's not a big thing, but the reality is we do focus on what is the underlying issue of crime. So what is that? What's the underlying issue of crime?
Please tell me.
Huh?
Please tell me.
You don't know?
No, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
First of all, focusing on crime, but you might want to be talking about what is the underlying issue of crime. John Hope Bryant talks all the time that you've never seen a riot in a community where the credit score is 700 or higher. I was just in Wichita, Kansas, the MLK event, and the former police chief of Philadelphia, the police chief of Wichita who came to Philadelphia, we were discussing this, and the reality is you can track crime rates in neighborhoods based upon economic status. And so if you want to address, so when you say we don't address the issue of crime, we do, because on this show, we consistently are talking about economics. We're talking about education. We're talking about access to capital. We're talking about housing. We're talking about all of those issues. Those are the fundamental underpinnings of crime in America.
Right. So I'm not sure if you read the article or not, but at the end of it, it does say that it's a community issue. We as a community have to fix this. But I don't think, like your last panelist was saying, by just vilifying police and saying that all the police are bad. And
I'm sorry, who said that?
I believe it was Reese.
No, she didn't. We shouldn't say all the police were bad. We were very specific about what cops we're talking about. And so if we're talking about cops, because you talk about a disproportionate rate, the fact of the matter is we see it where cops do lie. In your neighboring Chicago, there was a judge who got so sick and tired of cops lying on the witness stand that he literally reported them to the Citizens Accountability, saying, I will not allow these cops to come back in here. You have district attorneys in Prince George's County and also in Chicago. They have lists of cops who they will not let testify because they are known to lie. So why can't we hold cops accountable for also committing crimes and lying and making things up in police reports? And we will talk about what happens in the neighborhoods. Why can't we hold them accountable? They got badges and guns.
No one's saying that we can't hold them accountable. And I want to make that clear. And the article doesn't say that we can't hold them accountable. The article clearly says that good cops call out bad cops. And despite all
you said good cops call out bad cops?
Good cops call out bad cops.
That's a lie. That is literally a lie. We saw right there in Memphis where so were there any good cops who showed up? We played a video yesterday. In Chicago where these two cops were beating this guy in a jail cell. Two cops, two other folks just stood there and watched them. We've shown a video on this show from Los Angeles, from Mississippi, from South Carolina, from North Carolina, from Philadelphia, from Detroit, where cops stand back and watch these things unfold, and they will actually back up the lying cop in police reports. So please show me where there's this swell or this groundswell of good cops reporting bad cops.
Well, you and I agree on that.
All right, pause it right there. Pause it right there. Okay, we're gonna pick this up on the other side of the break. Now, what happened is J. Phillip Clay got so flustered because Roland was shutting him down that he hung up before the interview was over with. So I didn't get a chance to ask my questions, but I did tell you what I would have asked him if he had stayed on or stayed in the interview. We'll be back in a few minutes. We'll let you hear the rest of that exchange. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Back from breaking 4 minutes. Stand by. Okay, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show, and visit our website, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com. We have information there. If you missed the free lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th, 2023, we ended up doing 4 hours. And this was a Black History Month lecture that I did. This dealt with Black resistance movements and Black History Month origins. So you can still register for it and watch it. Just click right here. It's right on the homepage of our website, TheAFricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Okay, we got Becky, we've got Shani, Denise. Also, we have a new class starting up on Saturday, February 11th of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Class number 1 is starting up. So you can register for that also. Okay, here's the link for the lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th. We ended up doing 4 hours, so you can register for that. And it's a free Black History Month lecture dealing with Black resistance movements. Back from break in 1 minute. Here's the information for the new online course that starts up Saturday, February 11th.
.910 AM Superstation, a division of Adele Media. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media. We got the topics, the guests, the opinions, and the facts. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do with current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, let's have consequences. Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, we're going to go back to this clip here in just a second. We're going to start the clip at the 8-minute mark. Doug, we're going to start the clip at the 8-minute mark. Give us a call, 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. It's the calling number if you have a question or comment. Want to let you know that we have a new class offering for February for African American History Month, starting up on Saturday, February 11th. of ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, this is a 12-week online course that I teach. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. So we have the information right on the homepage of our website, TheAHNShow.com. The class is $8, and we deal with thousands of years of history, what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. I do a presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You go back and watch it. When you register for this class, there are 5 free lectures that you're going to get from me. So they'll be in the video library at our online school at Learn World that you'll be able to watch. And it includes the lecture I did November 19th dealing with the new Black Panther film. Okay. This information is PG-13. You can use this with your children also. So visit our website, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com. Even after the class is over with, you can go back and watch the entire course as many times as you want to. So a year from now, 2 years from now, you can watch the entire course. If you missed the free online lecture that I did, because see, nobody booked me to speak for African American History Month yet. I got a call from a friend of mine at a church, and I'll be speaking. Deacon Millen contacted me. I'll be speaking at Pastor Duckworth's church in Westland. I'll be speaking there on Sunday, February 19th. So we'll give you some more information on that. But nobody booked me to speak for African American History Month. So I'm doing free lectures online at my online school on Saturdays, 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Okay, so we have another free lecture coming up this Saturday, Saturday 11th at 12 p.m. Also, we have the information right here on our website, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com. But this past Saturday, I dealt with Black resistance movements, and that is this year's annual theme for African American History Month, Black resistance movements. There's been an annual theme going back to 1928. Okay, there's been an annual theme going back to 1928. So I ended up doing 4 hours. We dealt with a lot of history. So if you go to our website, TheAHNHistoryNetwork.com, you can register for that class, and you can still watch it. It's archived, okay? And then after you watch that class, register for our new 12-week online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Kemet's one of the original names for Egypt, okay? And I did that free lecture on Saturday, February 4th, 2023. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at AHNshow@TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNshow@TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or email us through our website. You can also give us a call, 313-462-0003, 313-462-0003 is the number to the office for the African History Network. All right, let me go back to, I want to go back to this clip here. And things got progressively worse for J. Phillip Clay. Okay, let's go back to this clip. Doug, we're going to start at the 8-minute mark.
Actually raise their rates because of the high number of police violence cases. And so I'm trying to understand, you become Black crime as a conservative. There are all the conservatives complaining about the millions and billions being spent on police settlement.
That's a good question, Roland.
They're not fair. I guess what I don't see? I don't see Grover Norquist. I don't see, let me tell you something. Memphis is probably to pay $20, $30, $40 million settlement. It's likely going to be higher than George Floyd settlement. Do you know who I have not heard a lot on this? Governor of Tennessee. I've not heard Republican state say this is gross and it's unfair. What you do see, though, typically we'll see Democrats or you see the Black Caucus. What I'm still trying to say to you, we have show and in other black media, discussions about black on black crime. What we don't do is fall for the pathology of Fox News and other places. We talk about what creates those conditions and what must be done to change those neighborhoods. And so what I want to know is, how are you in Project 21 advancing those issues and then calling on your fellow conservatives to support those very issues?
Absolutely. I've spent the past couple of days being able to do press about this issue specifically. And the thing that's come out of it, and the thing I will stick to, is we have to be transparent, both in the community and on behalf of police departments, or police departments themselves. There has to be open dialogue, and police departments have to show that whatever's being accused against them, levied against them, is not true. And the good cops do have to weed out the bad cops. So I understand your thoughts on that, and you've made that point clear. But at the end of the day, there are still people that wake up every morning with their intention and their honor, and all they want to do is protect the people in the community in which they live and serve.
But where are those? Why is it that when we need those good cops to show up, we don't seem to see them? And in fact, why is it? Because again, I saw many officers, and I've got black officers, and I've had black officers tell me the safest they are is when they got a uniform on. They say, "But damn, when I don't have my uniform on, I don't trust my own department." Those are black cops.
That's a departmental issue, and until people go into those communities and start having conversations about those bad issues and working through that, it's going to continue to be the same.
You do know that there have been reports showing of white supremacists that are in. Okay. You've seen the report again of message boards and various Facebook groups where you've had these racist cops in comments, things along those lines. In Chicago, there were cops who admitted, "Yeah, we call folks to we freely throw it around." So if you're a black person in the Chicago community, why would you trust racist cops? Hold on, I got to pay some bills. But I ask the question: if you're in a neighborhood and you have had bad encounters with cops, and you know you're dealing with racist cops in those areas, how can you trust them?
I don't think you can. But I guess the question, my question back to you is, what do you do in that situation? What would you, Roland Martin, do in that situation if you can't trust the cops in your neighborhood?
I'm not dealing with it. Here's the deal. I lived in Chicago 6 years. Okay, I have seen examples with the cops planting evidence where they beat sessions out of people. Chicago had to pay upwards of $40 million in reparations to a number of black people who were beaten, who actually were electrocuted, their testicles, by Captain John Burge and those racists in the department. Chicago actually had a Holman Street location where they were holding people, depriving them of their due rights. Attorneys didn't even know where their clients were being taken. When the consent decree came down in Chicago, they admitted, "Oh yeah, we use the N-word." They admitted driving gang members from one territory to another, dropping them off to see if they actually. Okay, we saw again Trump where consent decree in Baltimore. There's been 2 consent decrees. But again, if we're going to have a discussion about black on black crime, let's also at least say white on white crime. But let's deal with the issue of, how do you address crime? You do not address crime with policing. You have to address crime in a holistic way, Phillip. Republicans and conservatives do not want to do in this country. It's a matter of more jails, more police, more funding. Let's increase the funding, but not deal with the fundamental underpinning of crime in neighborhoods, which is poverty.
Again, I ask if you read my article, because at the end of it, again, I do say the only way that this works is if we come together and try to fix this morally bankrupt system.
But why is it at the end of your article and not in it?
Well, there's Mississippi. I'm sorry, not Mississippi.
Let them go to my panel.
Right there. Pause it right there. Okay, so his article is very shallow. Okay, and I'm going to show it to you here in a second. Hold on, this is freezing up on me. Stand by. and he hung up. He hung up. They kept trying to, Roland's producers kept trying to call him back. He didn't pick up the line. Okay, so we're going to pick this up. We're going to clip number 3 at the 28:30 mark. Doug, we're going to that here in just a second. So I want to go back to his little op-ed piece here, which is really ridiculous. And these are the types of African Americans that get exploited and manipulated by conservatives and white conservative media. These are the type that they love to have on Fox News. These are the type that they love to have on OAN and you know, Tucker Carlson show and all these right-wing podcasts. If we go back to, I want you to see the last paragraph that he had, because he kept saying at the bottom of it, it's one little paragraph. Let's increase the font size here. It's one little paragraph. It says, we have to raise up the officers who are doing their utmost to defend and work to weed out those who would break their oath. We have to stop looking to put the blame on everyone else and start looking at giving real leaders a chance to rebuild our morally decayed community. All right, that's the last paragraph. That's what he's talking about. He talks, it's in there. I talk about that, but no, you don't. Okay, and right before that, we already shared this. So he mentioned Antifa, terrorist organizations. He mentioned the Oath Keepers. Okay, he didn't mention the Proud Boys. He didn't the Proud Boys, members of the Proud Boys have been convicted of sedition. Okay, and I think it was the Proud Boys. Let me double check that here. Convicted in federal court of sedition. So you don't mention the Proud Boys, you mention Antifa, which is strangely curious. Okay, so we'll continue this on the other side of the break. I want you to hear what I had to say. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. All right. I mean, these breaks every 15 minutes kill me. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes. Back for break in 2 minutes. Stand by, everybody. Back from break in 2 minutes.
Opinions and the facts. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network Show. We do recurring events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, let's just have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network show. All right, right here on 910 AM, the Superstation. Okay, we're going to go back to the clip that I was sharing with you right before the break. And this is from Roland Martin Unfiltered. This is from Thursday, February 3rd. And he was speaking with Black conservative J. Phillip Clay. Now, Jay hung up before they came to me. He got frustrated, and Roland and Reese Colbert were tearing his behind up. His arguments really made no sense. So we're going back to the clip. We're going to start at the 28:30 mark. So here's what I had to say on the topic. Let's go to clip number 3, please.
Whatever it is that Phillip is looking to achieve, keep black people name the hell out of your mouth, because I would love the talking points when his face is pushed up against the ground. And he's being tased.
See, Michael, I know some real black conservatives. Mm-hmm. I actually know some black conservatives who are in communities that do the work. But see, Phillip thought he could just sit his ass and bang out some comments, and the national put. And these white conservatives go, we've got one of us, look at that. He's challenging Sharpton. Because see, people ain't right. So they love throwing Sharpton. So, how you for any black in Chicago guns that when you have the crime committed in India. They still don't want to discuss gun control. Ignorant ass fool Deontay. That's why his little trifling ass won't come on the show with me. Because see, I schooled him like I did Phillip, because they are not credible people. How can you talk about, well, we the community have new leaders, and he could not name a single community-based town hall that he was engaged in for the last year? Come on.
Yeah, Roland, you know, the article from JD. First of all, when I saw him from Project 21, I said this is going to be some BS right now, because I was on with Reese when Chris on and we tore his ass up. Okay, from Project 21 also. So I read the article just like you, Roland. I saw the white space at the bottom, so I thought there was a whole right. 3, 4, 5.
Hell, because I saw only half of the article. So fresh, and I was like, hell, that just ain't nothing down here.
Exactly. I kept looking. I said, wait a second, is this it? Because that's the article. It's right here. He notes, because I had questions for him. So I do think that he wants to save, African American lives, black lives, things like this. But he's grossly misguided. And one of the black conservatives, I don't understand history. Okay, number one of the questions I was asking him, he in 1980 to 2008 that the majority of gang homicides in America were committed by white offenders. 53.3% were committed by white offenders. And from 1980 to 2008, the majority of gang homicide victims were white, 56.5%. And what happens is the media presents these narratives, presents stories. They hide the quote unquote white on white crime that they don't want to talk about. And what's great is basically white controlled media, because if they talk about white crime, they don't use the term white on white crime. But I encourage everybody to read this article from AtlantaBlackStar.com. It's called 9 Facts That Show White on White Exceeds Black on Black Crime and How Media Outlets Conceal It. There's one of my favorite articles is from Think called from March 25th, 2018, called How News Outlets Convince You That Most Criminals Are Black. How news outlets convince you that most criminals are black. Now, it's a nationwide study of local news affiliates, NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox News affiliates. And they looked at the news coverage that they did of stories that dealt with crime. And they found that African Americans made stories where they were the perpetrators, but it was disproportionate to their arrest rate. So we made up like about 51% of the arrests, but 70% of those stories dealing with. This is the game that conservatives. This is not Fox News. You need to know what you talk about when you come on this show.
See, the thing, Reed,
All right, pause it right there. Pause it right there. Stop the clip. Stop the clip. Doug, stop the clip. Thank you. All right. So now, once again, Phillip hung up before my question. But read this article here from AtlantaBlackStar.com. 9 facts that show white on white crime far exceeds black crime and how media outlets. It's on March 3rd, 2015. And the statistics that I cited, it's when you scroll down here, okay, they talk about gang killings. It's they have different slides in here. So this one deals with gang killings. 53, according to Bureau of Justice Statistics. And there's a deal was when I came across this information, I went and found the study from the Department of Justice. It's a 36-page study from the Department of Justice where this information comes from. On page 12, table number 7, it breaks this down. When gang-related killings are referred to on the news, they treat it as an almost exclusively black problem. Now, depending upon where you're located, it may be a Latino gang, okay? But they usually don't talk about white gangs, and there's a deep history of white gangs in America going back to like the late 1800s and early 1900s, like the Bowery Boys and the Dead Rabbits and the 5 Points, things like this, like these gangs that you had in New York. However, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, for the period of 1980 to 2008, a majority, 53.3%, a majority of gang homicides were committed by white offenders. And the majority of gang homicide victims, 56.5%, were white. Okay, now, yes, white people, the majority of the population, it was about 60% at this time when 60% or higher, because you're dealing with 1980 to 2008. But you would not come to that conclusion if you watch the evening news. Okay, they focus on African-American gang involvement, but the majority of gang-related homicides in the country are committed by white people. Now, then the other article that I mentioned is thinkprogress.org, thinkprogress.org. And it is March 25th, 2015, and it's called How News Outlets Convince You That Most Criminals Are Black. Read this article, How News Outlets Help Convince You That Most Criminals Are Black. Okay. And in the article, it says, and I've referenced this a number of times in lectures I've done over the past few years. I've referenced this. There was a nationwide study that was done. Okay. And it says here, compared to the percentage, I hope I can close all this stuff out. I hate when all this stuff pops up. Compared to the percentage of crimes they actually commit, African Americans are grossly overrepresented on local news broadcasts about criminal activity. According to a new report from Media Matters for America, in New York City alone, African Americans make up 75% of criminals discussed on local news channels, whereas they only make up 51% of the actual arrest rate. Between August and December last year, so this would be 2014, WABC, WNBC, and WCBS overrepresented African Americans in theft, assault, and murder coverage. Overrepresented African Americans in stories, news stories that they dealing with theft, assault, and murders. On WABC and WNBC and WCBS, those local affiliates, respectively, 82% for WABC, 73% for WNBC, and 70% of all for WCBS of all wrongdoers were African American. However, data from 2010 to 2013 shows that African Americans only account for 55% of murders, 49% of assaults, and 55% of thefts in the city of New York. Out of all murders covered on WABC, which Media Matters assigned the grade of an F, 78% were committed by African Americans. Similarly, 82% and 85% of assaults and thefts, respectively, involve African American perpetrators. Okay, read the rest of this article. So what it does is it bombards you with distorted images of African Americans committing crimes, which is disproportionate to the actual crime rates. All right, and then it also diminishes the number of crimes that white people commit. Listen to the African History Network show on Michael Imhotep. When we come back, we'll go to the phone lines. We'll talk to Theo, and we'll also talk about the AP, the College Board, and changes they made to the AP African American Studies course. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by. Back from break in 4 minutes. Back from break in 4 minutes. Share this broadcasting on social media platforms. All right, break in 3. Stand by. Back from break in 3 minutes.
Or those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media. We've got the topics, the guests, the opinions, and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the After History Network Show. We do recurring events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fight of white supremacy. See, let's just have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network Show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation WFDF. Okay, be sure to register for the free. Be sure to register for the free African American History lecture, African American History Month lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th, 2023. It dealt with this year's annual theme, dealing with Black resistance movements. There's been an annual theme for Black History Month going back to 1928, and I dealt with some of the history of Black History Month as well. We talked about Dr. Carter G. Woods, and I'm going to do a free online lecture each Saturday in the month of February. So visit our website, TheAHNShow.com, for more information about that. If you missed the lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th, you can still register for it and watch it. I ended up doing 4 hours. So scroll down the page. At the top of the page, you'll see the information for the radio show, the African History Network Show, Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, WFDF here in Detroit. You'll see our PayPal and Cash App information so you can support the African History Network. And then you'll see the information for the lecture that I did dealing with Black resistance movements, So click right here and you can start watching it. Then also register for our new 12-week online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Maafa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. And class number 1 will start up Saturday, February 11th, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be each Saturday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll do thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. Okay, so visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right, we'll go to the phone lines here in just a second. And after we go to this call, I want to go to the story dealing with the College Board strips down its AP curriculum for African American Studies. And I want you to hear an excerpt from Roland Martin Unfiltered, because Roland spoke with Steve Bombog, who is with the College Board. So I saw a lot of coverage on this, especially on MSNBC. Most of it was garbage and inaccurate. And they didn't talk to anybody from the College Board. Roland, he did some good journalism, and he actually had somebody on from the College Board to actually explain what happened. Also, the article from the New York Times, and I'm going to show you, it's probably one of the best articles I saw on this. They did a good job on this as well. Let's go quickly to the phone lines. Let's go to Theo Broughton on line 1. Theo, we only got a few minutes because I'm running out of time here. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank you. Happy Sunday. I was calling to say that it was reported that 3 of the 5 Black officers in Tennessee were members of a fraternity.
Yeah, Omega Psi Phi fraternity, Omega Psi Phi fraternity,
right.
Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Since that time, they have put them out of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Right.
So my question is, have you seen any report, and I've been looking for one, where the fraternity is pressing for police reform, the George Floyd deal, or any other bill?
Well, I know that many of the fraternities and sororities put out statements dealing with the killing of Tyree Nichols, and I'm pretty sure they called for police reform. I know my fraternity did, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I have to go back and read them, but I do know that they support police reform and support the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. That one was specific because though what happened was the national headquarters of Omega Psi Phi found out that those three of those 5 officers who were fired, they found out that they were members of Omega Psi Phi, and they withdrew their membership. They rescinded their membership because they violated principles of the fraternity.
And this sounds like hazing practices, you know, that they picked up on that and decided to continue it just because they could as police officers. But thank you. I just wanted to know if they were pressing for police reform or any other fraternity. That was it.
Yeah, I think most of them are. Okay. All right. Thanks for calling.
Good.
Okay.
I know.
All right. Okay. So we're going to go to this next clip. Doug, this is clip number 4, and this is going to start up at the 1 hour, 1 minute, 56 second mark. Okay. So many of you have heard about we've talked about it here on this show. We talked about it on Faraji Muhammad's show. I'm on Faraji Muhammad's show, The Culture, on Mondays on the Black Star Media Network, which is Roland Martin's network, and I'm on Roland's show on Fridays. So we've talked about the College Board and their new African American studies course, and it was in a pilot form in 60 high schools across the country. It received backlash from the Florida Department of Education. There was a letter sent from the Florida Department of Education dated January 12th, 2023, sent to the College Board objecting to 6 topics out of 100, 6 topics out of 100, which dealt with Black queer studies, and it dealt with the movement for Black Lives Matter. There were reparations, things of this nature. So February 1st, as the College Board had already stated, they will release the final version of the course on February 1st, 2023. So this article from the New York Times deals with that. The College Board strips down its AP curriculum for African American Studies. The official course looks different from a previous draft. No more critical race theory, and the study of contemporary topics like Black Lives Matter is optional. So a lot of reporting, like from Joanne Reed on MSNBC and different things like this. And I was watching Mehdi Hassan's show on MSNBC today. They were saying, oh, they removed it. No, that content is made optional. But let's look at this quickly. Then we're going to go to this clip here from Roland Martin Unfiltered. After heavy criticism from Governor Ron DeSantis, the College Board released on Wednesday an official curriculum for its new advanced placement course in African American Studies, stripped of much of the subject matter that had angered the governor and other conservatives. The College Board purged the names of many Black writers and scholars associated with critical race theory, the queer experience, and Black feminism. It ushered out some politically fraught topics like Black Lives Matter from the formal curriculum, and it added something new. Black conservatism is now offered as an idea for a research project. Black conservatism is now offered as an idea for a research project. Now, understanding the history of African Americans in this country, you've had numerous African Americans who were Republicans, like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman. You had them who had conservative views, okay? Senator Ed Brooks, etc. So we have this in our history. So I would argue that now, I haven't read what the content dealing with Black conservatism consists of in this curriculum. However, to deal with the history of African Americans in this country, the majority of us were Republicans before we switched to the Democratic Party, because we were being pushed out of the Republican Party because of what's known as the Lily White movement of 1928, where Republicans ran Herbert Hoover as their candidate for the presidency in 1928, and they ran a Southern strategy and appealed to 5 former Confederate states. They appealed to white Democratic segregationists in 5 former Confederate states to get them to vote for the Republican Herbert Hoover. And at the same time, they were ignoring, the Republicans were ignoring the needs of African Americans, ignoring the rise of the Ku Klux Klan in this country, who became very powerful again in the 1920s. A lot of that had to do with the movie The Birth of a Nation that debuted February 8th, 1915. If you attended the online lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th, we dealt with some of this history, okay? Because this is the context that this is in the same year, 1915, is the same year that the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History was founded later in 1915, September 9th, 1915. The Birth of a Nation debuted February 8th, 1915. So in that same period of time, Dr. Carter G. Woodson co-founds the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. Then in February 1926, he creates Negro History Week. Now, it's going to be after 1928, we start to slowly go over to the Democratic Party because we see them as being, even though we're leery of the Democrats, we see them as being more receptive to our needs. And then in 1947, 48 presidential election, Democrats have a pro-civil rights agenda. Okay, so we slowly go over to the Democratic Party. So by 1960, when John F. Kennedy is running against Richard Nixon, 60% of African Americans had already switched over to the Democratic Party. Okay, we're going to continue this on the other side of the break, and I want you to hear some of this interview with Steve Baumbach, who's the senior vice president of the College Board, Career and Digital Access for the College Board. Okay, you listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Stand by, back from break in 4 minutes. All right. If you like this type of information, because this type of analysis, you're not going to get other places. I'm telling you right now. You can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show through Cash App, $ the AHN show through Cash App. Also, go and register for the free Black History Month lecture that I did on Saturday, February 4th. You can still register for it if you missed it. I'm going to post the link here again. Just a second here. All right, here's the link for it, and it's also on the homepage of our website, TheAHNShow.com. Also, I'll put on the homepage of our website the church that I'm speaking at on February 19th. Is out in Westland. Back from break in 2 minutes. Back from break in 1 minute. Okay, we've got Denise Hawthorne. How you doing, Denise?
The opinions and the facts.
I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network Show. We do with current events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network Show. All right, let's go back to this article quickly here from the New York Times. And the name of this article is "The College Board Strips Down Its AP Curriculum for African American Studies." Okay, so the final version of the new Advanced Placement African American Studies course was released on February 1st, 2023 by the College Board. Now, if you go back to this article, go to page, I want to go to page 2 here. Well, actually, this is still page 1. When it announced the AP course in August of 2022, the College Board clearly believed it was providing a class whose time had come, and it was celebrated by eminent scholars like Henry Louis Gates Jr. of Harvard as an affirmation of the importance of African American studies. But the course quickly ran into a political buzzsaw, first from conservatives after an early draft leaked to conservative publications like the Florida Standard and National Review. And then once the curriculum was released on Wednesday, February 1st, 2023, some academics and liberal groups protested the changes. Now, a lot of those groups should have done more research before they started protesting. The dispute over the AP course is about more than just the content of a high school class. Education is the center of much vitriolic partisan debate, and the College Board's decision to try to build a curriculum covering one of the most charged subjects in the country, the history of race in America, may have all but guaranteed controversy. If anything, the arguments over the curriculum underscore the fact that the United States is a country that cannot agree on its own history, especially the complex history of Black Americans. Now, the pushback began in January when Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, a Republican who's expected to run for president, announced that he would ban the curriculum, citing the draft version. State education officials said it was not historically accurate and violated state law that regulates how race-related issues are taught. Okay, I want to go to this. I want to go to page 2. They talked to David Coleman. David Coleman, the head of the College Board, said in an interview that the changes were all made for pedagogical reasons, not to bow to political pressure. He said, quote, "At the College Board, we can't look to statements of political leaders," he said. The changes, he said, came from the input of professors and longstanding AP principals. The changes came from the input of professors and longstanding AP principals. If we go, okay, moreover, the College Board officials said Wednesday that they had timestamp document. They had a timestamp document showing that the final changes to the curriculum were made in December 2022, before the Florida Department of Education sent its letter, which was January 12th, 2023. Before the Florida Department of Education sent its letter informing the College Board that it would not allow the course to be taught. Now, David Coleman of the College Board said that during the initial test of the course this school year, the College Board received feedback that the secondary, more theoretical sources were quite dense. Now, this is what a lot of the reporting, especially on MSNBC, does not talk about. This is why this article from New York Times is probably one of the best articles on this, because I read numerous articles on the final version, and they did not provide the information that the New York Times provided. Their primary sources and secondary sources, okay? The College Board received feedback that the secondary, more theoretical sources were quite dense, and that students connected more with the primary sources, which he said have always been the foundation of advanced placement courses. Quote, "We experimented with a lot of things, including assigning secondary sources, and we found a lot of issues arose as we did," end quote, he said. "I think what is most surprising and powerful for most people is looking directly at people's experience," end quote. Okay, so I want to go to this clip here. This is from Roland Martin Unfiltered. Roland speaks with Steve Bombach of the College Board. Let's go to this clip, please, Douglas.
Going after this AP African American Studies class, and so he has now been demanding that changes be made. Well, again, he's faced harsh criticism in the wake of his announcement that Florida is blocking accurate teaching of American history about Black people with this new AP course. He then tried to say, "Oh no, it was all of this gay curriculum stuff that was thrown out." Board, what they've done is removed most of the matter deemed controversial by the governor and conservatives. The new course will remove mention of Black writers and scholars associated with critical race theory, the queer experience, Black feminism, contemporary topics, and the Black Lives Matter movements. Sanders suggested that the original curriculum draft was not historically accurate and violated state law. He announced yesterday that all tenured college professors would be subject to employment review in public colleges to report spending related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Joining us now is the Senior Vice President of College, Career, and Digital Access for the College Board, Steve Bombach. So, Steve, glad to have you here. So, explain to us, first of all, this curriculum. Was it finalized, or was this a draft? My understanding, a draft was leaked to National Review, and that's how this whole thing took off.
So, I first want to give you a nod and say on behalf of the community that I appreciate you using your platform to generate funding for HBCUs.
Appreciate it.
That's what people in a position like yours should be doing.
Appreciate it.
To address your specific question, here's a copy of the actual framework. A pilot, by definition, is an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
So this course is being piloted in 60 high schools right now across
60 high schools in how many states?
Oh gosh, I should be able to say that 30-something states,
okay,
including some of the states that have been in the news.
Okay.
So a pilot, by definition, is an experiment. So every single week, our team engages with teachers and students who are taking the course to ask, what's working? What really resonates? Where do we see students really building their critical thinking skills? And we tweak the course in real time in an ongoing manner as throughout the pilot. Now, what I'm holding, which is the framework that is going to guide us next year and the year after as the course moves to more schools and is fully launched, this was largely finished by the end of 2022. So the narrative that is now, unfortunately, taking hold in the media, that we spent a week putting together a 236-page framework at the behest of politicians that have objections. That is simply not true. And I will
pause it right there, Doug. Pause it right there. Okay, guys, we're out of time here on 910 AM Superstation WFDF. Follow me, those watching on my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, my YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, my other Facebook page, The Michael Imhotep. We're going to keep broadcasting. I'm going to let you hear the rest of this. Okay, we're going to keep going. We're out of time here on 910 AM WFDF. Visit our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for my free Black History Month lectures each Saturday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And my new online course starts up Saturday, February 11th. Right now, it's Correct Wrong Behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next week. Peace. Okay, let me disconnect that call. All right. See, it's important for people to hear this, because Janet L. Fields just posted here. She said Steve Bombach was on Simone Sanders' show today on MSNBC. I saw some of Simone Sanders' show. I recorded it. I have to go back and watch it. She said he gave the same tap dance explanation about the slimmed down version. It's 234 pages. This is what people miss. There were 100 topics. 6 topics were removed as being mandatory and made optional. Instead of us focus on the 6 topics that were removed, why aren't we focused on the other 94 that are still left in there? This is the mistake people are making. I think it's a huge mistake for people to focus on the 6 topics and not focus on the other 94. Okay, because if you I'm gonna go back to this, and Roland had Steve on before he was on MSNBC, just so people understand. That's black owned media. If we go back and look at this article from the New York Times, first of all, a pilot, when you have a pilot program, you're trying things out. The final version oftentimes is going to look different than what you try out, and you're trying to see what works. We experimented with a lot of things. Including assigning secondary sources. And we found a lot of issues arose as we did. Now, the people who were complaining, none of them talk about the secondary sources and the difference between primary and secondary sources. I think what is most surprising and powerful for most people is looking directly at people's experience, end quote. Now, after the curriculum was released Wednesday, Brian Griffin, the press secretary for Governor DeSantis, said the state education department was reviewing it for corrections and compliance with Florida law. Florida already requires the teaching of African American history. Now, from my understanding, what they already teach, according to one brother who is going to be a plaintiff in the lawsuit against the Florida Department of Education, and he was on Joanne Reed's show, The Readout, on MSNBC. He said what they require already is watered down. Also, the other thing I want people to understand is that an advanced placement course is not taken by most high school students. Just so people understand, is advanced placement course for college credit. Most high school students don't take advanced placement courses. In light of the conservative criticism, the College Board seemed to opt out of the politics. The revised 234-page curriculum framework ranges widely through content on Africa, slavery, Reconstruction, and the Civil Rights Movement. And there is content on redlining, redlining, which was created by the federal government, discrimination and Afrofuturism, as well as stories of individual achievement and heroism. Okay. In this revised version, in this revised 234-page curriculum framework, the content on Africa, slavery, Reconstruction, etc. Let me see. Okay, Civil Rights Movement ranges from widely on slavery, etc. Okay, but the study on contemporary topics, including Black Lives Matter, incarceration, queer life, and the debate over reparations, is downgraded. The subjects are no longer part of the exam and are simply offered on a list of options for a required research project. So it's not saying that you can't discuss it. The subjects are no longer part of the exam. It's a year-long course and are simply offered on a list of options for a required research project. So they made those subjects, those 6 subjects, optional. But what I don't understand is why people are focusing on the 6 subjects that are made optional, as opposed to the other 94 subjects that are part of the exam and that are still there. I don't even understand that. Unless they don't understand what's left, unless they don't understand what's left in the curriculum. And even that list is a nod to local laws, quote, can be refined by local states and districts. The expunged writers and scholars include Kimberly Crenshaw, a law professor at Columbia, which touts her work as foundational in critical race theory, Roderick Ferguson, a Yale professor who has written about queer social movements, Ta-Nehisi Coates, the author who has made the case for reparations for slavery. Gone too is Bell Hooks, the writer who shaped discussions about race, feminism, and class. After the curriculum was released, Professor Kimberly Crenshaw said that even if her name and others had been taken out of the curriculum because of secondary sources, theorists or analysts were being eliminated in favor of facts and lived experience, the decision sent a troubling message. Quote, I would have made a different choice, she said. Quote, even the appearance of bowing to political pressure in the context of new knowledge and ideas is something that should not be done, end quote. But she said she was also disappointed because she had believed the course would capitalize on a hunger young students on a hunger of young students to learn, quote, ways of thinking about things like police brutality, mass incarceration, and continuing inequalities, end quote. Okay, so they talked to historian David Blight as well. Now, if we go to page 3, what happened was they got feedback from 300 African American history scholars. Of course, and let me try to find that here. I'm gonna find that part here in the article. Touch prowess, but the fact is, okay. I want to go back to the interview here with Steve Baumbach. See, does it come up here? All right, let's go back to this interview. I'm gonna back it up a little bit here.
And the year after, as the course moves to more schools and is fully launched, this was largely finished by the end of 2022. So the narrative that is now, unfortunately, taking hold in the media, that we spent a week putting together a 236-page framework at the behest of politicians that have objections, that is simply not true. And I will say, the quote that keeps coming into my head when I'm reading stories from people who should be natural allies of this course is the one from Malcolm X, where he said, be careful when you read the newspaper. They'll have you hating those who are oppressed and loving their oppressors. So, past this prologue.
So, this 230-page plus report, how long was it put together? People were contributing to this process.
Yeah. In some ways, this is, of course, been under development for 10 years. We've been trying to generate support for this course for about a decade. We finally felt 2 years ago that we had enough support so that colleges would offer college credit for the course. UDPs is that it allows students in high school to, if they show mastery of it, to actually arrive on a college campus with credit in their pocket. I think there's something really elegant about a course that celebrates the African American experience being one that can get students on campus arriving with credit in their pocket. But in terms of how it was developed, it's really been a very intensive process for about 2 years. We hired a brilliant scholar who had a dual PhD, one of which was in AP African American Studies, to be the chief architect of the course. She collected over 300 university-level scholars who have all provided input into the framework. So you're welcome to flip through it if you want to. This is a real course. It's comprehensive and it's rigorous.
Look at it.
And it has been developed by scholars.
So DeSantis comes out, he criticizes it, and I saw where the head of the College Board said, we didn't make these changes because of any politicians. So what was actually changed and why?
So when you're doing a pilot, you're often throwing a lot of things up against the wall, and you're trying to see what sticks. I think part of what we discovered when we were engaging regularly with teachers and with students was that some of what was in there worked really well and some didn't. And so there's always a revision process that happens with every single course. What many media stories are focusing on is a teeny tiny, you can look through that and see there's thousands of artifacts. There are thousands of events and dates and persons. And it seems that some of the stories in the media are highlighting a very tiny number of sources that they claim have been taken out. And frankly, even some of that reporting is not entirely accurate.
So what's not being taken out? So for instance, the Associated Press story suggested that Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and others are being removed. Yes, true or false?
False. So what we decided to do with this course that we don't do with very many other AP courses is in addition to an end-of-year exam. We probably all remember those.
And also
from our
Bell
AP.
Hooks was one of the names we saw.
Bell Hooks. I took 5 courses with Bell Hooks when I was in college. There's no way I would have given my blessing to politicizing the woman who is the finest college professor I ever had in my life, who I consider a mentor and a friend. But in any event, what has happened with some of the more contemporary authors and historians and writers and such is that we've added a 3-week project to the course.
Okay.
And the project is the place where students, if they choose, can dig more deeply into some of the movements that have been mentioned by politicians. They can spend their time really digging deeply into those rather than making those a survey. One of the other points that was mentioned was that some politicians have mentioned their discomfort with what they're calling queer theory. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by queer theory. Sometimes these terms get thrown out and they're not defined.
Well, just like they slap woke on everything, but yeah, I got you.
Or CRT or whatever it is, there's a boogeyman that remains undefined and kind of scary. What I want to make clear is that we continue to highlight Black feminism. We continue to highlight folks who are LGBTQ. For example, there is readings that students will do on the Combahee River Collective. That was a group of Black lesbian women who didn't feel that they had a place in a traditional civil rights movement that was mostly led by men, and they felt sometimes they experienced misogyny and homophobia from those men. They didn't feel as if they had a place in the white feminist movement where they felt there was less of a focus on race. So they developed their own movement. At the Combahee River Collective was an ode to Harriet Tubman, who on the banks of the Combahee River in South Carolina led a military campaign in 1863 that emancipated 750 people who had been enslaved. That is the background for some of what students will learn in this course. For me, it is difficult to know that that's in the course and to countenance an accusation that we have dampened down Black feminism and LGBTQ folk.
I've got a minute before I go to break. I'm going to put my panel in the next segment here. But it's part of the problem here also that the College Board did not, as far as I'm concerned, respond fast enough and explain to people. Because bottom line is what you have is you've got conservatives coming out there framing this in their own language as opposed to explaining exactly what it is. And so what then happens is y'all get all of this criticism and nearly all the people who are talking ain't seen it, haven't read it, have no understanding, and they're just repeating what somebody else said.
Yeah. Well, I think at the College Board, a lot of us are nerds. We're former teachers. We read a lot. We hang out with scholars. And we're up against, right now, a very sophisticated political machine. But the fact of the matter is...
And a conservative communications apparatus.
That is really good. And in fact, I feel that a lot of people who are natural allies of the course have actually stepped into a trap set by people who are not allies of the course.
Right.
They're actually... as you might imagine, my inbox is flooded with people saying, why did you do this? And my response is, why are you believing people who aren't, who have no desire for this course to succeed? Why don't you talk to me and let me show you the framework?
First, read it first.
Right, exactly.
First of all, so before I go to break, is there any way folks out there, they can actually see this online?
Absolutely. It is on the college
website.
collegeboard.org, and they can search for AP African American Studies Framework. And if they want to learn a lot over the weekend, they can read all 236 pages of this.
All right, hold tight 1 second. I'm going to go to break. We'll be back on Roland Martin. Right back.
All right. So that clip is from that is from February. What date was that? I'll give you the exact date. That's on Roland's YouTube channel. That's from February. Had to be February 1st. I hate it when they don't have the date here. February 1st. That's from February 1st, 2023. That's probably like the best interview that I've seen, the best coverage I've seen on this topic. I've seen some BS on MSNBC, bringing on people that weren't involved in this project, talking to people not from the College Board, not talking about the difference between primary and secondary sources, anything like that. So that was really good. And once again, I find it very interesting. People focus on 6 topics that were taken and made optional, and the students can do a 3-week project on it. As Steve Bombach just said, they don't talk about the 94 topics that are still left in the course. It's 236 pages. They don't talk about the other 94 topics that are in there. They just focus on these 6. Just ridiculous. So all those people complaining, I hope you have your children take the AP course. I hope you have your children take the AP course. I hope it's enough people taking this course. They're going to learn a whole lot about African American history that they did not know. And he talked about, Steve Bombach talked about the Combahee River Raid that Harriet Tubman led in 1863 in South Carolina. And Harriet Tubman was the only woman to lead a military raid in the U.S. Civil War. Okay. And that raid freed 750 enslaved African people. I've talked about that here on this show, even when Steve Hood was alive. And I was on Steve Hood's show, Wake Up with Steve Hood. I would be on this show Thursday mornings, his morning show here on 9:10 a.m. WFDF. I talked about the Combahee River Raid, June 2nd, 1863. So a lot of times people just like to complain just about just simple Simon ass nonsense. I really don't understand why people aren't focused on the other 94 topics, like dealing with West African history and Reconstruction, others, things like this. They don't focus on the other 94 topics in the 236 page curriculum, but they focus on 6 topics that are made an optional project. And I guarantee you, those people complain. I guarantee you, unless they were, scholars or something like that, most of the information in the curriculum, they don't even know. All right. So, let's see. Let's go to, I think I got to get out of here. The U.S. Department of Justice is going to review the Memphis Police Department. There's an article here from U.S. News, and there was one from Reuters. There was one that U.S. News and World Reports picked up also. Let's look at this here. Let me go. Let's see. I've got this. Hold on. Let me pull this up here in ABC News has an article about this as well. Let's look at this article from the news. So this is good news. Department of Justice oversight. It sounds like you need that in the Memphis Police Department. Okay, DOJ to conduct a review of Memphis Police Department after Tyree Nichols' death. Okay, let's look at this article here. Let me change this title here. All right, just a second here. Okay, so the, oh, come on, can I close this out? All right, the Department of Justice will help conduct a review of the Memphis Police Department following the beating of the fatal beating of Tyree Nichols, city officials said. Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland announced Friday, February 3rd, 2023, that the Department of Justice Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, along with the International Association of Police Chiefs, will conduct an independent external review, that will include assessing the department's special units and use of force policies, quote, to honor Tyree and help make sure this type of tragedy does not happen again, end quote. While we no doubt have a long way to go on the road to healing, hopefully through our actions, citizens will see we are working to be better and that we are heading down the right path, Mayor James Strickland said in a bulletin. Now, a spokesperson for the mayor's office told ABC News the review could take months and they will provide more information once it becomes available. Let's see here. Okay, so they just give background information. The International Association of Police Chiefs, a professional association for police leaders, calls Tyree Nichols' death appalling and indefensible. In a statement last week, as police leaders, we remain committed to emphasizing dignity and respect for all and instilling within our agencies a fundamental commitment to the preservation of human life. But we must and will do more, the association said. We must remain committed to working together in partnership with community members, advocacy organizations, elected officials, and others to build a future that ensures dignity, security, and justice for all, end quote, the statement read. Okay, so read this article here from abcnews.com. Department of Justice to conduct review of Memphis Police Department after Tyree Nichols' death. And there's also an article from U.S. News and World Reports on this as well. We know that the mother Tyree Nichols, Ravon Wells, and his stepfather Rodney Wells are due to attend President Joe Biden's State of the Union address on Tuesday in Washington, D.C. And we know that the funeral for Tyree Nichols was held on this past Wednesday. So that was Wednesday, February 1st. Okay, and was attended by Vice President Kamala Harris and relatives of other African Americans killed by police in the U.S. Okay, so check out this article here. All right, now, but once again, as I said on Faraji Muhammad's show, and also as I said in the broadcast that I did on Monday after I did Faraji's show, as long as police killings in this country, police brutality, as long as that gets framed as an African American issue, you're not going to get the federal legislation that you need, because you need 60 votes in the Senate. Okay, you need to talk about the fact that there are more white people killed each year by police than African Americans, and look at fatal force from the look at the database called Fatal Force from the Washington Post. Fatal Force, okay, because Fatal Force keeps track of police killings. It's probably the most comprehensive database on police killings. And each year, even though we're disproportionately killed by police, each year there are more white people killed by police than African Americans. So where the body camera videos, where the dash cam videos of white people being killed by police, they do have them. The cell phone videos, they do have them. Okay, so you need to get those. You need to take those white mothers into the U.S. Senate and have them talk about how the ones whose loved ones were unjustly killed have them talk about how their babies were killed. You need to get the Fraternal Order Police and the International Association of Police Chiefs, who both came out publicly and supported the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. You need to have them testify in hearings in the House of Representatives as well as the U.S. Senate and talk about how that bill is good for citizens as well as good for police. And the International Association of Police Chiefs and the Fraternal Order Police both said the bill does not defund the police. Okay, they said the bill does not, because it does not. And the bill actually spends more on policing. If you look at the article from thehill.com, this article here from thehill.com from September 28th, 2021, police organizations, pull this up. Police organizations say failed reform proposal would have strengthened departments, not defunded them. Okay, now this is the International Association of Police Chiefs and a Fraternal Order Police who released a joint press release in September 2021. Talks failed because Senator Tim Scott lied from South Carolina. Senator Tim Scott lied and said that the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act defunded the police, which it does not. Police organizations say failed reform proposal would have strengthened police departments, not defunded them. This is from September 28th, 2021. Two police associations released a statement expressing disappointment over police reform negotiations ending on Capitol Hill last week after a bipartisan group of lawmakers said it had reached an impasse. The International Association of Police Chiefs, which they're going to be involved in doing the review of the Memphis Police Department, the story I just talked about, and the Fraternal Order of Police, the FOP, are disappointed that Senate negotiators could not reach agreement on police reform legislation. And we thank all those members of Congress who partnered with us in this effort, the joint statement from the two police organizations said. Here's what they said in their statement, and there's a link to the full press release in this article. Despite some media reports, at no point did any legislative draft propose defunding the police, the statement added. It is our joint belief that the provisions under discussion would have strengthened the law enforcement provision and helped improve the state of community police engagement without compromising management and officers' rights, authorities, and legal protections. Now, so it talks about Senator Tim Scott, who lied. Meanwhile, Senator Cory Booker said the reform would have allocated millions of dollars more to police, M-O-R-E. So all the people who are saying defund the police, but they want the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, do they know that the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act spends millions of dollars more on policing? But it does it in a responsible way. It does it in a way that's needed. It takes a more holistic approach to policing. Senator Cory Booker knows more about the bill than most of these other people talking about it. He helped write the bill. Look, do people know this? Because I hear people talking. I hear so many people talking. Now, I've talked about this article, and we talked about this memo when it came out. Talked about it here on this show. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act funds the police. It does not defund the police, which is the same thing Joe Biden has been saying. He said you have to fund the police, not defund the police. Here's Senator Cory Booker saying the bill. Meanwhile, Senator Cory Booker said the reform would have allocated, quote, millions of dollars more, M-O-R-E, in addition to, plus more to police. Quote, we want to help officers with mental health issues. We want to collect more data, so we should give more resources. Senator Cory Booker said, this is the same thing I've been saying. Yes, you want to create the national database. Yes, you want to lower the threshold to be able to charge police officers at the federal level with criminal charges from willful intent to negligence, which means you're going to have more prosecutions. Consequently, you're going to have more convictions, probably need more prosecutors. You're going to have to fund that too. Go read this article. This is a different type of show here. We do with facts and evidence. A lot of this BS floating around. It's just nonsense. Read this article. I'm going to post a link here. There are other articles that came out that talked about this joint memo from the Fraternal Order Police and International Association of Police Chiefs, who supported the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. This is why I'm saying the way they're talking about the way they're talking about getting the bill passed, they keep making this a black issue. You're going to lose. Republicans control the House. There are 220 Republicans. You need 218 votes in the House. And Kevin McCarthy, no bill could come to the floor for a debate or a vote in the House without permission of the House Speaker. You need to talk about the white people who are unjustly killed by police. You need to bring those white mothers in and talk about that. Show the pictures of white people unjustly killed by police. You keep making this a black issue, you're going to lose, especially when you go to the Senate. And the Senate is 95% white, and you need 60 votes in the Senate, which means if you have 51 Democrats, which means you're going to need 9 Republicans to vote for it. And even if Tim Scott votes for it, you're going to need 8 white Republicans to vote for the bill. People don't understand that they don't understand. All right, that's going to do it. My article, read this article here. We'll talk about it next Sunday. This deals with African American History Month. Let me grab the link here. Let me grab the link here because I went through and edited the article, and it deals with some of the origins of Black History Month. Now, which platform is this on? Okay, so I need this one right here. Okay, let me give you the link for it. And we'll put the link on the homepage of our website also, TheAHNShow.com. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Can we get the... All right, it's published. I'm trying to pull the... Okay, so the name of the article, we'll get this on the website. Isn't this draft? Okay, this is made public. Okay, here it is. Here's the link. I think right now it may be at the bottom of the website, but anyway, I gotta go through and have to go through and update it quickly here. But okay, this article here: Black History Month was never designed to be the only month we study our history. Okay, but Michael Imhotep. So I updated this Saturday, February 4th, 2023. I was up early, 6:44 a.m. because I was working on my lecture that I did in the 4 hours. Okay, on Saturday. Go through and read this article here. We'll discuss it next Saturday also. And if you want me to do a presentation for your group organization, email me at ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com. ahnshow@theafricanhistorynetwork.com if you want me to do a presentation for your group organization. Be sure to support us, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. And we have the information right on the homepage of our website. All right, remember, right now is correct. Wrong behavior is not over till we win. We're